Despite making up about 71% of the Earth's surface, we have only explored 5% of the sea, meaning that the majority of it is still unknown, its mysteries untouched, and its very existence poorly understood. But every day, hundreds of people sail across it, be it for work, relaxation, or adventure. And while many of the ocean's mysteries lie beneath the surface, some of its most compelling sit above it, in the form of puzzling cold cases still waiting to be solved. Join us for today's video as we explore 3 eerie, unsolved sailing cold cases. Taking care of your health is often a priority at the start of a new year. But what about your mental health? Therapy can seem daunting at times, but it also gives you the tools that you need to deal with challenges in your daily life. Untreated mental health problems can get in the way of achieving your goals, and we'd like to help you start the year right, alongside BetterHelp, who this video is in paid partnership with. BetterHelp is available to anyone looking to start therapy, no matter where you are. Finding the right therapist can be tricky, and they may not even be available in your area. With BetterHelp, you're connected with a credentialized therapist who will give you helpful, unbiased advice. In most cases, you can get started with your therapist within 48 hours of completing the initial questionnaire about what your needs are. There's flexibility in your therapy too. You can schedule whenever you want, change to a new therapist if the first one doesn't feel like the right fit, and hold your sessions however you want, video call, phone call, or even text if that's what you prefer. People often make resolutions to hit the gym this time of year, so why not hone your mind muscles too? Join over 4 million people who've used BetterHelp to start living a healthier, happier life by using the link in the description, or by going to betterhelp.com/coldcasedetective. You'll be supporting the channel, and you'll get 10% off your first month, so you can try it out and see if therapy helps you too. And now let's dive in with today's mysteries. Bas Yan Ada. On July 9th, 1975, 33-year-old Bas Yan Ada, a Dutch conceptual and performance artist and photographer, set off from Cape Cod, Massachusetts, in a 13-foot modified pocket cruiser named Ocean Wave. Bas Yan aimed to single-handedly cross the North Atlantic from west to east. If he succeeded, his boat would be the smallest to cross the Atlantic. He believed the journey, which he had been carefully planning for months, would take him around 2.5 months. He planned to reach Falmouth, England, and from there he would travel to the Netherlands for an exhibition of his work. Not only did he aim to check off a sailing goal, but his voyage would also be part of an art project he was working on, which he named In Search of the Miraculous, a reference to a book of the same name by P.D. Ouspensky. His wife, Mary Sue Anderson Ada, in a piece written for the Brooklyn Rail in 2022, recalled that Bas Yan, an enthusiastic sailor, had once sailed from Morocco to California with the owner of a 70-year-old, 45-foot wooden ketch. The two men had endured a hurricane, 2 broken masts, a failed engine, and no radio or navigation equipment. Their extraordinary tale of survival was proven when the U.S. Navy towed the mastless ketch into San Diego port. Before he disembarked on this new voyage, Mary Sue recalled feeling afraid, telling Bas Yan that it was too dangerous. "I don't want to lose you." He informed her that, "You are stuck with me for the next 50 years. No ocean can get in the way." She wrote in 2022, "The sea was my only competition. He trusted me, and he trusted the ocean. It would never harm him." Mary Sue waited for her husband to come home, but he never did. On April 18th, 1976, around 150 nautical miles from the southwest coast of Ireland, the team, manning a Spanish fishing trawler, stumbled across a small sailing boat, floating aimlessly across the surface of the sea, its bow completely submerged as it drifted vertically. The trawler's crew subsequently hauled the craft on board and searched its cabin, finding canned goods, sailing equipment, and several IDs. The boat was Ocean Wave and belonged to Bas Yan Ada. Barnacles attached to the boat's hull indicated that the craft had been drifting for around 6 months. There was no sign of Bas Yan, and his camera and notebooks, which he'd taken to document the journey, were missing. Mary Sue soon heard from Interpol, who asked her if she was the wife of Bas Yan Ada. Her details had been found amongst the papers still on board the Ocean Wave. When she was told that the craft had been found, Mary Sue recalled that she numbly listened and asked for details. There was a big hole in the back wall of the cabin, which Bas Yan's safety lines would have been attached to, and the rigging was missing. Shortly afterwards, Mary journeyed to Spain with her husband's brother, Eric. The Dutch embassy then revealed that the Ocean Wave had vanished. It had been stolen from the boatyard belonging to the trawler's captain. Bas Yan's brother, Eric, an accomplished sailor himself, has suggested that the hole in the boat left by the removal of the wall to which Bas Yan's lifeline would have been attached was likely the result of the fixed point being ripped out by Bas Yan falling overboard in bad weather conditions. Eric reached this conclusion after interviewing people in Spain who saw Ocean Wave before it went missing. Still, to this day, it's unclear what became of Bas Yan. The Ocean Wave has never been located. CAS 2. On April 15th, 2007, the CAS 2, a 32-foot catamaran, set sail from Airlie Beach with 3 men on board, all of whom were residents of Perth, Western Australia. The men included 56-year-old Derek Baton, 69-year-old Peter Tunstead, and 63-year-old James Tunstead. While most of the men were fairly inexperienced sailors, Derek had undertaken a sailing course and had journeyed several times on the CAS 2 prior to April 15th. That day, the men planned to head to Townsville, Queensland, but ultimately wanted to sail the CAS 2 around Northern Australia to Western Australia. For 2 days, there was nothing amiss. It wasn't until April 18th that trouble seemed to make itself known, when a helicopter spotted the boat adrift near the Great Barrier Reef and reported that the CAS 2 was in distress. 2 days later, authorities caught up with the boat and discovered there was nobody on board. An employee at the Queensland Emergency Management Office reported what they found was a bit strange in that everything was normal. There was just no sign of a crew. The Queensland Emergency Management Office later noted that the boat was in adequate condition. Furthermore, food and tableware had been laid out, a laptop was turned on and sitting undisturbed on a surface, the boat's engine was still running, and the radio and GPS were both in full working order. Even the life jackets were still in place, untouched, and the CAS 2's anchor was up. The only obvious sign of something having gone wrong was that the boat's sails had been shredded. Though there was no life raft on board, it's unclear if there was one before the men set off. The same day the boat was spotted by the helicopter pilot, search and rescue efforts began. A Navy aircraft helped in the search, as did Bowen Voluntary Marine Rescue. At night, an aircraft with infrared abilities was dispatched, and the following day, a full-scale search and rescue effort was launched. Despite the efforts of authorities, though, no sign of the men was found. Experts noted that it would be very unlikely that the members of the CAS 2 crew were alive, given how much time had passed since they'd gone into the water. On April 21st, the search was called off. A forensic examination of the CAS 2 was soon carried out, though no evidence was ever found that would indicate foul play or third-party involvement. In a sealed container beneath Derek and Baton's bed, they discovered a firearm and ammunition, none of which appeared to be missing. The boat's GPS revealed that on April 15th, the CAS 2 was steered northeast into an area where rough seas and sharp winds were strengthening, and later that day, the boat was adrift. In early August 2008, an inquest into the disappearance was held, led by Queensland State Coroner Michael Barnes. 27 witnesses testified, and 107 pieces of evidence were submitted. Notably, Derek's wife, Jennifer, was adamant about her husband's habits of putting safety first. Derek had experience with sailing and had been around boats for 25 years. He had taken several sailing courses over the years, including one shortly before the CAS-2 departed, and had a qualification in marine radio. She and Derek had travelled on various motorboats every summer, and they'd taken the CAS-2 out a few times before Derek departed with his friends. The men meticulously planned the trip for months, allowing themselves 6 to 8 weeks to get back to Fremantle, noting that they did not want to sail at night for safety reasons. The inquest also heard from the CAS-2's previous owner, who noted that the boat was in good working order and he had helped Derek, James, and Peter plan their route. 2 days before the helicopter spotted the CAS-2 adrift, the skipper of a fishing vessel recalled seeing a white yacht resembling the CAS-2 with a torn sail drifting sideways through a narrow passage near Bowen. Gavin Howland, the skipper, recalled that he came within 50 meters of the boat, but was unable to see anyone on board. Though he thought it was strange, he admitted that he didn't contact the authorities as it did not occur to him the crew might be in distress. Queensland State Coroner Michael Barnes wrote that he cannot be so definitive about the circumstances under which the deaths occurred, but he did propose a theory as to what happened to the crew members of the CAS-2 on April 15, 2007. He suggested that since a fishing lure was discovered entangled in the port side rubber, and a recovered video recording from the boat that morning showed Peter fishing, Peter tried to free the lure and fell overboard. James then jumped in after him as he was unable to climb aboard, leaving Derek still on the ship. When Derek went to drop the sails, which he needed to do to turn back for his friends, the ship's movements or the wind could have knocked the boom, which in turn knocked Derek overboard. In seconds, the boat would have been out of their reach, and without life jackets, the men likely would have struggled in the turbulent sea. There have, however, been several other theories proposed over the years. Townsville authorities noted that the weather worsened just after the CAS-2 departed. The sea had been rough and the winds sharp. This led to some speculation that the 3 men had gone overboard due to the bad conditions. But relatives of the men have pushed back against this, noting that their fishing lines and laundry were set out when the boat was found, and their life jackets were still stowed, suggesting that whatever had happened had not been something they'd been prepared for. Additionally, the items found inside the boat did not bear the signs of bad weather. Everything inside was neatly placed and had not been moved by the rough seas. It has also been theorized that the men willingly or unwillingly moved on to another boat. This is because the CAS-2 was discovered with its fenders out, suggesting it may have docked with another vessel. However, Townsville investigators noted that small boats often left their fenders out at all times, so nothing could be concluded from the fact that the fenders were out at all. Other theories in the case include a faulty GPS leading them astray, the CAS-2 becoming stuck on a sandbar near George Point, where their last radio message was made, a freak wave knocking them overboard, or even that the men staged their own disappearances for insurance purposes. It is worth noting that this final theory has no supporting evidence, however. What exactly happened to the crew of the CAS-2 remains a mystery to this day. Since the events of April 15, 2007, the boat has been dubbed the Ghost Yacht and the modern-day Mary Celeste. Donald Crowhurst. On October 31st, 1968, 36-year-old Donald Crowhurst set off from Tynemouth, England, to begin his journey as part of the Golden Globe race. The event was a non-stop, single-handed, round-the-world yacht race, and the first of its kind. Sponsored by the British newspaper The Sunday Times, the race was open to anyone. Skill level was not an issue, unlike many other races and sailing events at the time, which required entrants to demonstrate their abilities before they could be approved for entry. The winner would receive a trophy and £5,000, the equivalent of around £108,000 today. At the time of his departure, Donald was a father of 4, a businessman, a member of Bridgewater Borough Council, and an amateur sailor. The boat he built for the Golden Globe race was named the Tynemouth Electron, a modified 40-foot trimaran, and he remortgaged his home to help pay the costs of building it. Reportedly, this type of boat was not commonly used for the kind of lengthy journey he'd be embarking on, and it was unclear how well it would serve Donald. At the time, trimarans could become slow if overloaded and had difficulty sailing close to the wind. Before he disembarked, Donald attempted to put together safety devices to help ensure his victory, or at least his survival. He hoped that he could prove his inventions useful by completing the race, and planned to manufacture and sell the devices upon his return to England. However, he had only a brief period of time to build the boat, secure finances and sponsors for the race, and finish the equipment. As a result, most of his safety measures were left incomplete. Though he planned to finish them en route, he never did. One experienced sailor, who spent a few days with Donald before his departure, noted that the Tynemouth Electron sailed swiftly, but could get no closer to the wind than 60 degrees. Furthermore, the vibrations produced by the speed led the screws on Donald's self-steering gear to come loose, which led to the 2 men constantly having to fix them. Almost immediately upon Donald's departure on October 31st, he ran into issues. The boat sprung a leak, he lost some of the screws he'd repeatedly have to fix, and had no spares on board, meaning he had to cannibalize other parts of the boat to replace them. Then his generator broke down. Over the next few weeks, he made considerably less progress in the race than he'd intended, largely due to a lack of speed. He soon began fabricating his positions when making his radio reports, often being vague about his whereabouts. Though he was meant to be in the Southern Ocean, he reportedly moved into the Atlantic Ocean and stopped in South America to make repairs to his boat, a violation of the event rules. By December, many believed he would be the winner of the race due to his false reports, and the fact that many contestants had already dropped out. 2 months passed, and one of the other contestants dropped out, while another became the first to complete the race. This led Donald and another contestant, Nigel Tetley, both in the running for second place, at least according to Donald's reports. In reality, he was nowhere near Nigel, who was far ahead of him. Still, Nigel was spurred on by his desire to win second place, and he pushed his frail boat further and further before eventually he had to abandon ship on May 30th, 1969. There is some speculation here that Donald was now feeling the weight of the pressure of the race. If he looked to have completed the fastest circumnavigation, it would lead his logbooks to be thoroughly examined by experienced sailors, who would undoubtedly see through his false reports. He was last heard from on June 29th, while his last logbook was dated July 1st. His boat, the Tynemouth Electron, was found empty on July 10th. It is assumed that sometime around July 1st, Donald Crowhurst fell or stepped overboard and drowned. The boat itself did not indicate as to what may have happened to him. It showed no signs of accident or a rogue wave that could have swept him overboard. Many, including Donald's biographers, have concluded that Donald took his own life after suffering some sort of mental breakdown brought on by the stress of the race. They theorized that he believed he had 2 options: to complete the race as a fraud and live with the guilt for the rest of his life, or lose his house and face financial ruin and public humiliation if he admitted to his lies. Biographers Nicholas Tomalin and Ron Hall suggested that Donald spiraled into classical paranoia, a psychotic disorder in which deluded ideas are built into a complex, intricate structure. The writings in the last few weeks of his log entries were noted to have become increasingly erratic and irrational. Meanwhile, a clinical psychologist named Jeff Powter speculated that Donald suffered from undiagnosed bipolar disorder, which may have contributed to the stark mood swings noted in his later logbook entries, which showed him switching between manic and depressed episodes. On June 24th, Donald began writing in a new logbook he titled Philosophy. Inside it was a 25,000-word manifesto which described how all of mankind could achieve an advanced evolutionary state he called a second-generation cosmic being. The logbook contained incoherent ramblings throughout, but he wrote that life was a game overseen by cosmic beings, God and the devil, who set the rules by which the game was played. However, he wrote, man could eventually become a second-generation cosmic being himself, so he could set the rules of the game personally. His final entries, dated July 1st, include writings such as 10:23:40, cannot see any purpose in game. 10:29, now is revealed the true nature and purpose and power of the game offense. I am what I am, and I see the nature of my offense. It is finished, it is finished, it is the mercy. Many who read these logs believe that Donald had come to peace with himself and his situation by deciding to take his own life. While his body has never been found, this is the most commonly held theory in the case. Still, it cannot be discounted that Donald faked his death or met with an accident. Both theories have also been suggested over the years. Simon Crowhurst, one of Donald's sons, believed that part of the appeal of his father's story, which has since inspired plays, films, books, and even an opera, lies in the fact that he was one lone man going out into the world against the brutal elements of the sea, accompanied by nothing but a radio and a few logbooks. It is a story that people remember, and that's a consolation. It's a story that tells you something about what it means to be human. And there you have the facts. Please leave a comment down below with your own thoughts and speculations, and remember to like this video and subscribe to support the channel. Thank you for watching. Stay alert, stay safe, and I'll see you next time.